A woman just wants to vent and speak her emotions, and the man goes, well, you should do this and this and this and maybe blah, blah, blah. And we want to resolve the problem. We want to give a solution right away because we are very action oriented. In this relationship, as an example, I was only ever able to give her love in the form that I knew without listening to the form that she needed. And it was only by her ending the relationship that it shook me. And as I dropped into deep listening and self-exploration and self-awareness, I was able to learn something. I was able to grow, and I developed this understanding about the masculine and feminine, which I'd like to share with you right now, which is that you asked, how can I know you love me? How can I trust in us? I said, don't you worry, my dear, I will give you the heavens above. I tried to give you the moon, but you said it was not bright enough. So I tried to give you the sun, but you said it was too hot to touch. So I searched and searched for something that could keep you warm at night, that could help you find your way, that could be your guiding light. The stars, too small. But I tried to collect them all. I moved mountains to ease your path. I put a ring of Saturn on each of your fingers, which was no easy task. Picked out every piece of salt so the whole ocean could be your bath. Spent all day sweeping clouds away so it wouldn't rain unless you asked. Caught lightning in a bottle. Learned how to speak into the wind, hoping each time I said I love you, you might finally breathe it in. But it seemed like no matter what I did, something never was quite right. The fire kept on burning out, and with it went the light. And so tired, worn, and weary, I finally gave up, came to you, asked for a clue. Why was none of it enough? You smiled sadly at me then, kissed my cheek a gentle touch, said, my dear, I can see you've tried so hard. You've given me so much. But you never needed to do those things. I never asked for any of them. It was you who pulled down Saturn's rings and cleaned out all the oceans. All I wanted was some warmth, to know I'm safe when times get hard, a light to help me find my way back home when times get dark. And so while the moon was too dim and the sun too hot, you've had the answer from the start. Deep within what can't be bought, what I wanted was your heart. And on that day, I learned a lesson that I hope I can pass to you. So the next time you're asked that question, how do I know our love is true? You'll know that the answer's in all the little things you do. It's the way you listen to her breathe when she falls asleep at night. How you never make her wrong even when she isn't right. It's the way you never shy away from her eyes when they're full of rage. She feels safe to scream until she cries because you're there to wipe her tears away. It's the way you rest your hand so gently around her hips, so other women can clearly see he's proud that she is his. There's a warmth in feeling claimed. She knows you won't give up without a fight. That's how she knows she can trust your love. That's how your heart becomes her light. Deep breath. Wow. I earned this poem. Believe me, this poem is called Us, and it is on my spoken word poetry album, The Journey Back to You. For those of you who don't know, I have 2 spoken word poetry albums on Spotify that you can listen to. The first one is called Permission. The second one is called The Journey Back to You. And this is the Creative Path podcast behind the poetry for the poem Us. And this poem came after a breakup. Shocking. I know. Don't judge me. And it came because I realized after this breakup that I had been spending all of my time trying to prove my love. I had spent all of my time trying to prove how much I was willing to work for her, how much I was willing to sacrifice, how much time I was willing to do, how much I was willing to put aside my own projects to help her with her projects. So much of that. And she broke up with me. I know it's hard to believe. I get it, but it happened. It's actually the only relationship that I've had as an adult, really, where I was broken up with, and I didn't see it coming. And that has its own real blow to the ego, for sure. But it was especially hard because I had, in my mind, been pouring myself into her, had been working so hard to show her how much I loved her, to help her in all the ways that I could, to do all of these things for her. And because I had been putting in all of that energy in the way that I thought was showing my love, by the way, acts of service is my primary love language. And so therefore I thought I was pouring love into her, that when she broke up with me, I just couldn't even, I didn't understand. I felt so unseen and unappreciated. And sitting in the aftermath of it, and by the way, when I say aftermath, this poem came to me within days. I had this really interesting experience where for months, eventually I moved to the same city that she was in and lived there for 3 months. And I didn't write any poetry while I was there for 3 months. And then we broke up, and the next few nights I woke up, I wrote a poem every single night. I would wake up at 3 a.m. unable to sleep, probably 3:33, you know how that goes. And then I would light a candle and I would sit with my poetry journal, and I had poems that just came through in one go. And this was one of them. And I thought that was a really telling thing in hindsight, to go so long without writing poetry, and the moment the relationship ended, poetry unlocked again. And what I realized, because I'd been so taken aback by how could she break up with me? What did I do? What did happen? I realized that there was something I couldn't see. There was an element that I had missed of something that had been building inside of her that I was unaware of. And that helped me see that I had been so focused on the doing that I hadn't created any space for the listening. I had been so focused on the way that I needed to present love to her that I didn't stop to really be in inquiry and feel in my body whether or not I was giving her what she actually needed. And I think that this is a dynamic that happens a lot in relationships, especially as masculine, feminine partners. We can very often, as men, I'll speak for men here, take action, right? The stereotype of a woman just wants to vent and speak her emotions, and the man goes, well, you should do this and this and this and maybe blah, blah, blah. And we want to resolve the problem. We want to give a solution right away because we are very action oriented. And so that can lead to situations like this one, where the action to me was enough. The action was the proof. The action was the love. But when we are doing, we are generally not listening. This is in every area of our lives. And this is why it's really important, especially as we are artistic entrepreneurs. If you listen to this podcast, you know I talk about it all the time, being an artistic entrepreneur. It's when we get too much in our masculine doing, entrepreneurial, go energy, we don't create the space to listen. We don't create the space for refinement. We don't create the space for intuition to really be present. And it's the equivalent of, that saying, we were born with one mouth and two ears, so we should listen twice as much as we speak. And when we speak, we're not able to listen. And when you speak, you're actually only able to say what you already know, versus when you listen, you grow. And translating that to action now in this relationship as an example, I was only ever able to give her love in the form that I knew without listening to the form that she needed. And it was only by her ending the relationship that it shook me out of the do, the analogy of stop talking for a second and listen. And in that listening process, because from there I went, wow, what had me do that? Why? I think of myself as a great listener. I think of myself as a really compassionate, empathetic person. I think of myself as someone who's really able to be present and hold a lot of space. How did that happen? And I realized that I was so insecure. I had so many doubts that had arisen in me of being worthy of being with this woman, of bringing enough value to be with this woman. And because of that level of doubt and fear that I had in myself, I overcompensated for my fear of not being enough by trying to do more and more and more. And as I dropped into deep listening and self-exploration and self-awareness, I started to realize more about the universal nature of this wounding and this overcompensating and this journey that we go on as the masculine and the feminine. And so this awareness unlocked inside of me, as it does when we walk a creative path, when we allow our creations like this poem to inform me and what's going on inside of myself, I was able to learn something. I was able to grow and have this poem as a mirror to help guide me along the way as I walk the creative path. And I developed this understanding about the masculine and feminine, which I'd like to share with you right now, which is that the design of the masculine and feminine is one in which all creation births. Everything is created by the blending of masculine, feminine energy. And you can use yin, yang, alpha, omega, circles and lines, whatever it is that you want to use that feels more resonant with you. I use masculine, feminine. But there's this design that is meant to magnetize and polarize, right? This push-pull, inhale, exhale of masculine, feminine is at the heart of all creation. And so what is this divine design? What is this dance that we're in? Well, the feminine is connected to the void. The feminine chaos, the feminine infinite. The feminine has a womb inside of her, and that womb is a place from which souls enter into this world, which means that the womb is a portal between life and death. It is a portal between the spiritual realm of souls and this earthly plane. And so women will always be connected to the void of the infinite in a way that men will never be able to understand. And what that means is that a woman will always want more, because the woman is connected to the infinite. The woman is connected to an intuitive feeling in the body that more is available. And in order to claim their desire for more, the feminine must overcome their deep karmic wound that they are too much. Women, you are too much. This wound that if you let all of yourself be known, all of your desires, all of your emotions, all of your chaos be seen, that you will be rejected for it. And one of the ways that we know that this shows up collectively in society is that women, more often than not, fall into a category of dimming your light, of choosing to play small, of choosing not to stand out necessarily. And that dimming of the light is because of that fear of needing to own and move through that fear in order to even claim what you want. And what's interesting about that is that the masculine energy is divinely designed to penetrate and fill any hole that the feminine provides, literally and figuratively. We are designed to penetrate into the void. And so every man that I've ever met, truly, and I lead a lot of live events, and I ask this question to the audience, and every man raises their hand at this question, which is, when a woman tells you, this is what I want, when you're in a romantic partnership, she says, I want this, your first instinct is to want to get it for her, want to give it to her, yes or no? Everyone says yes. As a man, I am just designed in my DNA to want to provide the feminine with what it is that you desire. And the thing is that because you desire it, it's generally something that's not currently present in our dynamic, whether that's more intimacy, more adventure, more security, more stability, more emotional connection, more sex, more pleasure, more play, right? All the women are like, I want all of that, actually. And as a man, my deepest karmic wound is that I am not enough. And so no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, no matter how much effort I put in, that it will never actually be enough. And these are the deepest karmic wounds. And the reason they're implanted so deeply is because if this is the energy of creation, then what that means is there can be nothing that is able to be outside the realm of this energy. Nothing could be omitted. Nothing could be left aside. This dance between masculine and feminine energetics must be able to access the deepest shadows to be able to bring it to the surface, because it is literally the core of creation energy. And so that deep karmic wound of I am not enough is the thing that I will need to move through, because the only way out is through. You cannot go around it. You cannot ignore it. If I want to grow into the man who is capable of meeting you in all of your desires, I will need to move through my fear of not being enough in order to become the man that can give you what you're asking for. And in the process of overcoming that fear, in the process of believing, you know what, I can do it, in the process of tripping and falling and scraping my knees and getting back up and failing and getting back up, I become the man that can give you what you've been calling me forward into. That is how the feminine calls a man forward. And what we need as the masculine is to know that every time I fall down, you will be there to help nurse me back to help. Every time I experience failure, you will not look at me as any less of a man. Every time I trip and screw up and I don't meet you in your expectations, that you still will love me enough so that I don't fear that this journey through my karmic wound is going to leave me alone and abandoned. To know I have you to love me through my process of evolution is the thing that gives me more courage and strength to face fears that I might not face otherwise. For you and for us. And when I finally move through and I meet you and you tell me, oh my gosh, I've been craving more intimacy and I don't know what that means. Like when I was in my 10-year relationship and she said, I crave more intimacy in our relationship. And I said, does that mean more sex? Well, I mean, we can have more sex. I don't know. And she said, no, more intimacy. I said, I don't know what that means. Okay. And I had to figure that out. I had to work with people. We went to work with couples coaches together for intimacy workshops. That's what we did. And it was uncomfortable for me, but that's how I became capable of holding more intimacy. And then the moment I do all that work and I go through there and I come to you and we finally have more intimacy in our relationship, I'm like, oh, finally, this is amazing. Suddenly what has happened is you as the feminine, you feel met. You just expressed a desire and you saw your man meet you in that desire. Your nervous system settles. You relax into this man can actually hold me. Oh my God. This feels so good. And as a man, we grow through the yang energy, right? Of doing, of becoming. And then as the feminine, when you feel met in the safety, your nervous system relaxes, you go into the yin energy of expanding through relaxation. And in that moment where you expand through relaxation, you suddenly become aware of the more that you want. You just got what you asked for, and now it feels so good. You become aware of that there is more. And you will now need to face off with your edges of discomfort, of saying, I would be too much. It would be selfish of me to ask for more. I feel guilty. I feel shame about it. I feel like I will be seen as ungrateful. But suddenly you face off with the fact that I do feel like, even though I just got more intimacy, I feel like there's another level to the pleasure. Now that there's more intimacy, I think there's more pleasure that we can experience in our dynamic. And you will have to move through your fears of being rejected for voicing this, for owning it. And you, through that, will own your voice and stop playing small. You will voice it. And once again, by voicing it, you will trigger the deep karmic wound of the man who will say, it's never enough. I'm never going to be enough. And if you understand that by voicing your desires, you are doing two things simultaneously. One, you are triggering his deep karmic wounds. But on top of that, you are creating the opportunity for his evolution. And as a man, if you know that her voicing her desires is a sign that she feels safe with you and that it is an invitation into your evolution together, you can navigate this dance consciously. You can be in a conscious, intentional relationship together, and you can dance this instead of what we see normally happen, which is me feeling like it's never going to be enough and projecting back on you, telling you that you're greedy and selfish and blah, 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 blah. And then the woman, you not voicing what you really desire and then secretly resenting your partner because you don't feel fully fulfilled, but you never gave him the opportunity to know that's what you wanted. And these dynamics that we see play out all the freaking time in society. And so this is the dance of the divine feminine and masculine. This is the opportunity that we have in conscious relating, but it requires us to really, truly understand these energetics. And I'm so grateful that I got to walk a creative path of exploring how I fell short in understanding of this. And this poem brought me back home and has now brought this awareness into your life. Thank you for being on this creative path journey with me. Thank you for this exploration of masculine and feminine dynamics, one of my favorite subjects, one of the most painful, hard, and well-earned pieces of knowledge and wisdom that I've gained over the years. And also one of the most fulfilling and fun to use poetry or painting or dancing or whatever it is that lights you up, that can teach you things like this. I encourage you to go and take this information and turn it into your own art. If you've gotten value from this podcast today, please make sure you hit the follow, subscribe, leave a review. That really does help. It means the world to me. And share it out. Share it with a loved one. Share it with your partner. This is a good one to send to your partner. And then have a conversation about it. I want to remind you that always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved. Have a really beautiful and blessed day wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you are interested in building a life that you love through the 3 pillars of relationship, business, and creativity, then I encourage you to continue checking out more of my content, including this video, which I really think that you will like.